Blog Talk Radio.
I'm Raina Starr, so you don't have to be. Desperate House Witches is not a G, PG, or even an R-rated show. So, bad language, bodily function, dirty talk of any kind might offend you. This would not be the show for you. And might I add, today might especially not be the show for you. But that's why you're here. You know it, I know it, we all know it. Desperate House Witches is brought to you by the amazingly wicked one herself, the incredible Dorothy Morrison, queen, patron of my life, and wonderful person. And her shop is www.wickedwitchstudios.com for all of your witching needs. But you don't need me to talk about it any further, because today, my desperados, you are in for a special treat, because the Wicked Witch herself, my utterly wicked friend, is back with us. And not only is Dorothy Morrison here with us today, but our favorite astrologer, Storm Sestavani, is also with us today. So we're a triple threat today. Good afternoon, my friends.
Good afternoon.
Hi.
Hi. So how is everyone doing today? Thank you so much for coming on and joining me for this hour.
Oh, thank you so much for having us. I am doing well, getting a lot of things done around here, and so that is a good thing. How are you?
I'm great. Work is crazy, but that's a good thing because I'm still employed. Storm, how about you? How are you doing?
Well, I'm not getting much done because I have fallen down a long rabbit hole, and it may take me a while to get out. I have fallen down a rabbit hole. I'm excessive in regards to studying, and there recently, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but the pop artist Halsey has come out with a video called Lilith, which is from the game Diablo 4. And when something like that happens, I always become a little bit obsessed because, of course, Halsey is now activating an archetype, okay, the goddess Lilith. And I found it kind of interesting because and I do have a question for both of you here in a second. I did find it interesting because I have to ask myself the question, why now? Why is she activated right now? Why is this huge, gigantic pop star who in the last decade has had the #1 song of the year twice, which is it's hard to get it once, much less twice, okay? And why is she coming out with this song, and why did it go to #1 on iTunes in less than 3 hours? So I have to ask those types of questions, and it came into this very, very confusing path, because in the game, Lilith, of course, is the antagonist of the game, or the main boss creature. I don't know if you all know what that is. But it's who you want to defeat in the game at the end of the game. When when it's over with, you've defeated Lilith. And I went online and was doing a little bit of research on Lilith and pulling books off of shelves. So I have a stack of books next to me that's about 19 books high. And what I was wondering, because online, when you look at the magical community and the neo-pagan community, Lilith is this extremely revered goddess, and I even seen some rather strange attributes to her, which I could find no source material for, none, zero. And what I want to know from you two, since you're both witches, and I'm not,
Bullshit. You can call yourself a Tootsie Roll Pop if you want to, but you are still a witch.
but what I want to know is when, because in Kabbalah and in Jewish mysticism, Lilith is considered so much of a negative figure that you don't even say her full name. So I'm probably going to go to hell now, but it's not like I won't be there with friends. Yeah. Come sit next to the two of you when I arrive, right?
Yeah.
So what I want to know, if either of you know, is do you know of the source material for where Lilith has been turned into this dynamic feminist goddess who is now the protector of children and women, because it's the exact opposite in Jewish mysticism, in which she was considered to be a child murderer who sucked the marrow out of the blood of babies. And of course, the issue here is I understand the patriarchy, which I'm sure that you all will have plenty to say about. I'm more concerned from a mythological perspective, okay, and stories, because stories to me represents something that's going on within our unconscious, and not necessarily, whether or not the Catholics did us wrong, which they did, but so I wonder, do either of you know where this comes from? This very positive image of her.
I really have no idea. Okay, I was, I went to Catholic school for 9 years. Okay, mm-hmm. I wasn't even taught anything about Lilith and didn't discover her at all until much later, after I graduated from high school. Okay, and then I did some formal Wiccan training, and she wasn't discussed there either. So much later, I discovered Lilith. And, this thing about her, being a protectress of babies, to me, is craziness. Now, I can understand the feminist movement revering her because, she wasn't going to be controlled by any man, mm-hmm. which was why she was cast out, apparently. So I don't know where any of that comes from. I think what happens, though, is that people tend to spin things the way they want them to be. And it's interesting with archetypes because, archetypes actually live because we breathe life into them. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that constantly gaslighting yourself and telling yourself that Lilith is going to protect babies is going to make that happen. I think Lilith is going to laugh in your face. Mm-hmm. What do you think, Raina?
That's interesting. Well, it's interesting because I've had a guest on named Michael Herkis, and Michael Herkis has written a book called The Glam Witch. It was one of the first things he ever put out. And he talks about Lilith and how Lilith is, has been demonized and is still shrouded in mystery, and that, there are people who have always revered her. As with anything, stories get retold and bad press happens when you threaten the Catholic or Christian churches. It's kind of like saying that all of the stories about Jesus are 100% true, like anything in the Bible has to be fact. I totally disagree. I think people are, mythologized and lied about, and stories get twisted. I didn't learn anything about Lilith growing up. I didn't learn anything about Lilith from my Wiccan tutors. Lilith was just not ever discussed. So I do find it interesting that she is having this resurgence or renaissance, if you will. But I do believe that where you have women's rights being threatened, you will see a resurgence of anger. And sometimes we call on archetypes for their help in these situations. So it doesn't really surprise me that there is now this sudden interest. But as far as the changeover and you know, from being a baby eater to being a baby protector, I have no idea. I am clueless about that.
Well, Raina, the interesting thing is that I even went through all of the Catholic literature that I could get my paws on, okay, and did exhaustive research, a total now of, since Tuesday, okay, since Monday, a total of 26 hours of research, okay?
Wow.
And she's not mentioned at all in Catholic literature, period, okay? It's almost like with the Catholics, even though that they do have the Old Testament, and of course Dorothy can speak to this more than I can because I'm not Catholic, but, it's kind of like life began when Jesus was born and the Blessed Mother moving forward, okay? There's not much before that. But, have either of you happened to see the video by any chance?
I've seen it.
I have
what
not.
Did you think, Dorothy?
I have not.
It is amazing. It opens up in a monastery, and Halsey has a cloak on with a hood, and she's walking through, and there are flashes of the painting of the fall of man, and so on and so forth, and of course, she's singing, this song, which has some pretty chilling lyrics. And then suddenly, she is transformed into a full battle gear, and arrows are being shot at her, and she's getting wounded, but she keeps moving forward. And she talks about her flaws, and she's owning them. And then and toward the end, at the end of it, she turns into Lilith. But there's blood. She's walking through this whole pool of blood and so on and so forth. And she's obviously owning the fact that she screws things up. Okay, and so on and so forth, which is really great because, Storm and I have talked about this because, we've both seen the video. I think this is more about owning your shit, and then moving on with it. But yeah, it's a very, very powerful video, and if people haven't seen it, I urge them to take a look.
The interesting thing that I thought. Go ahead, Rena.
It's interesting because I've got the video. I'm actually looking at the imagery that's going. I mean, without the lyrics, obviously, or the music.
Mm-hmm.
But watching the visual of going up to a chessboard and realizing that you are your own pawn in a lot of things, and you create a lot of your own demons. You also create your own hero. And I find it very interesting that she's got all this amazing imagery. Obviously, I haven't seen the whole thing. I've only been watching since you brought it up. But it's quite startling. And I think people may see themselves in it. The idea of being the villain and the hero at the same time, and owning your shit and owning your power, is something we always talk about, but what are the steps to go through to get to that power? It's not often in each word. So
and part of... Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was done.
Oh, okay. Part of this is that, we need to own our dark side.
Mm-hmm.
I think that a lot of times, we concentrate so much on what is light and what is good that we forget that, this whole world is built on checks and balances, and so are we.
Mm-hmm.
And and so you have to embrace your dark side as well as your light side in order to become balanced. And so, while the video is you're right, it's startling, but yeah, I really like that part of the message.
The interesting thing that I found, Dorothy, which you may have a comment on, is at the beginning of the video where she is wearing monk wear. Okay, she's wearing the outfit of a monk, and walking through the monastery. And later on, she is confronted by a group of monks. What I thought about that is that it is her wearing the monk outfit is her being part of the establishment, her being part of group thought and group mind, and then she sheds that. And it is in the point in the video where she sheds it, where she starts talking, her lyrics are, I'm corruptive, I'm destructive, I don't need a fucking introduction. And it is kind of like this shedding, and in the process that we go through of shedding things, even in our lives in regards to the things that we go through, if we need to let something go, there's oftentimes a lot of arrows, which again are symbols of thought. Anything that goes in the air is connected to the thought realm. And then if you go in and you study Lilith, she was associated with winged demons and owls and birds and all of these other things. So there's all of these air creatures that are going on everywhere. And one of the things that I wrote down, and I'm going to probably do a whole exhaustive discussion on this eventually, but is what Halsey, not what she's talking about in the song, probably not even conscious to her, because I don't know if she knows a lot about mythology and Jungian psychology, okay? But is this really about, with that imagery, which art is going to take on an archetypal energy of its own, is it about how our thoughts have been corrupted by society, how we have fallen collectively into groupthink, how we've started to not look at things in any form of individual perspective, meaning this is my thought, this is my idea, and I'm happy to claim it. Yet instead are we parroting, interestingly enough, a parrot is another bird, are we parroting what we think that society wants to hear from us? And is this video the shedding of that? And in order to combat darkness, you first have to become it.
I think you're probably right, because it's human nature to jump on bandwagons, because that's a comfortable spot. And, it's this group think thing. And, interestingly, you're talking about the element of air. Air is mutable, and it's flexible. And I really agree with you in that letting things go, not worrying so much about what people think. Mm-hmm. Being true to yourself, because a lot of getting rid of the labels. Mm-hmm. I have a problem with labels, because I think that part of the problem with our world right now is that everybody wants to have a label. And labels are divisive. Mm-hmm. So, you don't need a label to make you unique. You are unique in and of yourself just by being. So, yeah, the interesting thing about this video was I was hoping that at the end of the video she wouldn't just turn into Lilith as a demon face. I was hoping she was going to sprout bat wings or feathered wings and fly away. Really and truly, I was so hoping for that, and I have to say, at the end of the video, I was a little disappointed that didn't happen.
I have to agree with that, because it's almost as though it's a self-fulfilling prophecy of winding up as the demon, and that's not necessarily the fact in every scenario. You can go through all of the steps. You can do the damage. You can come out on the other side and not turn into the thing that you're trying to rectify. You know, it's a very hard road to be a human. We think it's simple. It isn't simple. It's full of dichotomy. It's full of choices that we'd rather not make sometimes. And sometimes you're the good guy, and sometimes you're the bad guy, and sometimes you're the bird flying overhead, and sometimes you're the snake in the grass. It's all possible, and it's all true. And it's all happening at the same time. So the idea that she goes to the conclusion that, as Dorothy said, we kind of hoped she wouldn't go to, I was a little, and I haven't even heard the music to it, but the imagery when it got to that point was it's very chilling. The end is very chilling. I also have to wonder, did it turn out the way it did at the end for effect? Is that really what the author is thinking about themselves, or is it what the author really thinks about all of us? It's a much broader question, and because I'm not necessarily a follower of this artist, I would have to do a deeper dive myself to find out if I could figure out where she's coming from.
Well, I think the reason that the video ended the way it did is because you have to remember that this is now the theme song for Diablo 4.
Okay.
And
right.
this is probably what Lilith looks like in that game.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Now, interestingly enough, because any time that you activate an archetypal image, I always find when you look at people's responses to archetypal images, I always find the response interesting. Now, brace yourselves.
Okay.
There was a lot of flack from certain pockets of society, okay, who are upset that Blizzard did not use a Jewish or Hebraic individual to do this song, and instead chose a black woman. Halsey is part Italian and part black. That they are throwing out words about cultural appropriation now, and all of these other terms that are going on. And then basically I was thinking to myself, what a way, so now you're rejecting this girl, some of you. I'm sure that her fan base is quite happy with what she's doing, but
yes.
Certain pockets are rejecting her, and actually activating the goddess.
Yeah.
Which I found interesting, especially in regard to, a Hebraic woman did not write the song. An Italian black woman wrote the song. So if she wrote the song, she should sing it.
Yeah. Yeah. These social justice warriors really get under my skin, because most of them don't have any idea what they have nothing to really back up their actions.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think. Go ahead, Dorothy. I'm sorry. Let me let you.
No, I was just going to say. I just think it's ridiculous. And yes, they are activating the goddess by doing exactly what they're doing.
Mhm. I agree. But here's the thing. I think, and the terminology social justice warrior has all kinds of connotations too. For me, the fact of the matter is that there are just groups of people who want to be mad right now. And no matter what anyone does, no matter what the song is, no matter what the gig is, somebody's going to be pissed because somebody is looking for a reason to be pissed. And that's the part that I'm sick of. The constant needing to gin up this anger. We already have a fuckload enough to be angry about. We don't need to have created outrage. I cannot stand created outrage. It's just anger for its own sake with no basis in fact, just so people can be angry and fulfill some kind of need they have inside to be pissed off at someone.
Well, yeah, because they don't feel like they have any power otherwise. They feel like this gives them power. You know, my Utterly Wicked got some really nasty reviews because I have a dream catcher in there.
Oh my God!
And I
need to hear this tea. Where's my cup? Hold on.
Yeah, grab
delicious.
it. Yes, it is scrumptious. I have a dream catcher in there, and and you make the dream catcher counterclockwise to get somebody nightmares. Well, no, there's so much cultural appropriation and Utterly Wicked, blah 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 blah, and so on and so forth. And what is interesting to me is I learned how to make a dream catcher when I was 6 years old in Girl Scouts.
Mm-hmm.
And, the thing about this cultural appropriation thing is this. Once you squeeze the toothpaste out of the tube, you cannot put it back in.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we are all a Heinz 57 variety of different cultures because of our ancestries.
Right.
And so, and if you went all the way back to the first two human beings, you would find that, we are all related. So how in the hell can you culturally appropriate anything? It's already out there.
And my question is why can't art just be art?
Yeah, exactly.
Like I said, I'm not necessarily concerned about the socio-political side of Lilith. I do want to know, and if anybody knows where this started or originated in regards to Lilith being the protectress of children and the protectress of babies, because there is a Greek goddess that does that, and people loathe her, and that's Hera. They think that she is the codependent, abused woman whose husband is a narcissist and is gaslighting her and running off and doing all of these things. And, of course, they're looking at mythology in a factual sort of way. What they don't realize is that Zeus can't be Zeus without Hera. Hera can't be Hera without Zeus, okay? They belong together. They're a pair. They're married, and you can't get a divorce on Olympus.
No.
It's like Aphrodite being married. The goddess of erotic beauty, Aphrodite, being married to the ugliest god on Olympus, Hephaestus. He's as ugly as she is beautiful, but they're a couple. They walk around as a pair, and they can't get a divorce because divorce isn't allowed on Olympus. So if anybody has the stories, I'm interested in stories, not politics, okay, in which Lilith has taken this jump, please send it to me. I definitely want to read it.
Well, stories with sources, with actual sources they can cite.
Right. Because I have looked through everything and can find nothing that is not from neo-paganism, okay? And what I have seen from the little bit of neo-paganism that I have actually found, it doesn't seem to be sourced material. It seems to be our belief or our ideal, which is people can have them, and archetypes evolve. They do. But where's the source?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I find these days that for some people a source is as much as it's something that occurred to them as opposed to something that's,
Oh, I am applauding you.
Oh, Raina. And I thought either Dorothy or I were going to be the controversial one. This is what we traffic in as controversy, and it's you, Raina.
Yes, it is.
It is me. It is me. But my husband says I'm controversial all the time. But the fact of the matter is that you have to question everything. And that was kind of my point in the beginning when we first started on this topic. You have to question source material. You have to question who came up with it. You have to question everything from the beginning of time. So actual fact is a lot harder to get to than we once thought it was.
Well, I think that when things change and they become quote unquote, and I definitely want to hear from Dorothy on this, when they become political, okay, just for me, and it may be because I grew up on mythology and I grew up on stories and I grew up on studying these stories to understand them from a psychological perspective and seeing these figures constellate in dreams, which of course I then interpret psychologically. But it seems like once it becomes political, it gets stripped of its beauty.
Oh, it certainly does, especially in our current political climate. Yes, it does. I don't think any of this should become political. Unfortunately, it always seems to these days.
Right.
Because you take the mystique away from it. And that removes the magic, right, as far as I'm concerned.
And the only thing that I could find as a beginning for this was in the 90s with the Lilith Fair, which was, a rock fair that, a bunch of women hosted, which it's fine and dandy. And actually many of the artists on the Lilith Fair, Sarah McLachlan, Katie Lang, Sheryl Crow. I like their music. But, then when it goes down this extreme political path, which, for me, when you start to switch something around, and say, oh, she really wasn't, the goddess of, or she really wasn't a baby killer and she really wasn't, actually terrorizing pregnant women. Because they had amulets around it. They created these most prolific amulets to block her off from houses and maternity wards and all this other stuff at that particular time period. And then you flip it around and then you blame the patriarchy, okay, for that flip around. That's when it becomes political, and the actual beauty of having this negative figure to counterbalance. In Jewish mythology, of course, it would be the Shekinah, okay, which is, in Christian terms, that would be called the Holy Spirit, okay. But you have this extremely negativistic side to counteract the positive side. Just like you can't have Jesus Christ without Satan. They don't exist, without each other. Yeah. There would be no reason. What would be, if there was no Jesus Christ, why do you need a Satan?
Yeah.
If
there was no Satan, why do you need a Redeemer? Right.
I think when...
Yeah.
I think the problem with all this trying to switch her around and turn her into something entirely different, part of the problem with that is that no one ever seems to check anybody's facts. No fact-checking going on. And the Internet is partially responsible for that. The very fact that people have become so reliant on it. If it's on the Internet, by God, it must be true. So you see somebody post such and such, something absurd. Somebody else sees it, and they share it. and they share it, and they share it. And so all of a sudden, all of this misinformation goes on. And, you know, I have to wonder, what does Lilith think about all that?
I'm sure she
except that she happens to like chaos, and that's what that, you know, turns into.
Yeah, I mean, it is pretty interesting, and I will tell you at the same time, you know, this is just personally, and I would love to hear what both of you have to say on this. I feel like quite the curmudgeon in regards to saying, "Where's your source?" What's your sources? I mean, you know, that there is the. I am sure that a lot of people don't want to see darkness that exists within the world. Okay, that they would much rather, you know, sanitize it and put some saccharin on it, and, you know, dress it up in a rainbow kitty. Okay, with unicorn horns. But you know, when you say, you know, where is your material in regards to this, some of the reactions from some people, which I really haven't discussed this a lot with a lot of people, but, you know, when I've discussed topics before in which I'm wanting people to show me their sources, okay, you almost get the reaction of, how dare you even question what I believe, which I find interesting because, again, we go back to Lilith being an airy goddess, which has to do with the mind and consciousness.
Well, and, you know, I don't think anybody questions what someone else believes. They can believe any damn thing that they want to. They have a perfect right to that. But if you are going to spout this as fact, then that's different than from what you believe. I can take a group of facts and come to a conclusion about what I believe. But that doesn't change what the facts are. So asking someone to cite their sources, okay, you just want the facts. That's all. Joe Friday, just the facts, ma'am. You know?
That's right.
And so, you know, I don't think that's curmudgeonly at all. You know, when I was going through formal training, we were taught to question everything. And, you know, I questioned my teachers up one side and down the next about multiple things. And I am sure that they were damn glad when they finally, you know, saw me through to my initiation so they wouldn't have to fool with me anymore. So, oh, yes, I was indeed a headache. You know, it was like, so why do we do this? Well, you know, well, you know, I was taught that way. Well, you know, can you find out? You know, and this became one of those things where, oh, why are you cutting off a fourth of your roast before you put it in the pan? And when you go down through generations, you find out that great-great-great-grandma cut off a fourth of her roast because she didn't have a big enough pan to put the whole damn thing in. Mm-hmm. Okay? So yeah, you know, I think people need to cite their sources so that there's not any misinformation, and then people can draw their own conclusions.
Right.
Agree with
right.
That.
It is interesting.
Sometimes, you know, there are things based in mythology. There are things based in theory. Sometimes things are magical, and sometimes shit is just shit. And making do is making do. You know, the idea that everything is so heady, and so, you know, it secretly means this or it secretly means that. Sometimes shit is just shit. Period.
Indeed.
You know, what I thought about, and this is just my crazy mind, and this is how I think, and yes, I am on crazy medications, by the way. But what it reminds me of is like if somebody tomorrow was to say that Endora on Bewitched was really not this mischievous trickster figure, but she was misunderstood because at the time we were still a masculine-dominated patriarchy. And that's the reason why she's viewed as mischievous. I mean, or you can even take it further. If you know, you can go into soap operas. You know, Sue Ellen Ewing was not an alcoholic drunk. You know, that couldn't control her emotions and couldn't control who she slept with, actually. But you know, that is what people thought because the patriarchy.
Well, I mean, here's the thing about Sue Ellen Ewing. The idea that she just, you know, she couldn't control herself, and it must have all been a reaction to JR's infidelity and, you know, his constant manipulation. We weren't thinking that when we were watching it, were we? No, we weren't.
No, we were like, girl, what is she going to do next?
Listen, guys. I remember when, when we were going to find out who shot JR, okay? Yep. And so the bars were having a fit because no one, neither male nor female, was at the bar until that show was done. Everybody was watching to see who the hell shot JR because he damn sure needed a good killing.
Yes.
And he didn't even die.
He did.
No, he didn't even die.
Didn't have the good taste to fall over.
You know, and even the good brother, Bobby, when he died, it ended up all being just a dream. I mean,
yeah.
You know, but this is soap opera.
What a ripoff.
And the question is...
it is just thievery.
Right, and the question is, why can't a character just be a character?
Exactly.
I agree, 100%. Sometimes shit is just shit. Sometimes a character is sometimes just a character. Sometimes an archetype is an archetype, and people twist it into whatever they want. And that's just the reality.
Right. And I agree with you. And I think that, you know, the reason why shows become popular to the level that they do, like Dallas, for example, is because they are constellating the archetypes. And, you know, the archetype of the woman who is suffering at the hands of her husband, mentally or physically or whatever, is definitely an archetype. And the reason why people look at Sue Ellen, and of course everybody wants to know who is she going to sleep with next, and is the baby really Cliff Barnes, and all of the other stuff attached to it. And I was, and by the way, way, when JR was shot, I was 9 years old.
Oh, my God, and you were such a baby.
And I was such a baby, and I still look 9 years old now. But
yes, darling, you do.
You do. It is the truth.
But the issue again is, and it's what I want to circle back to in regards to Lilith. Why can't she just be a blood-sucking succubus creature who likes to suck the marrow out of babies' bones? It gives for a good story.
You know, I don't know. I don't know why people want to rewrite everything. You know, you see that in today's world a lot with people rewriting history because they don't like the fact that history is ugly. and so, let's whitewash everything. And you know, and here there are those who are whitewashing Lilith. You know, Lilith is a badass bitch all by herself. She doesn't need to be whitewashed.
And probably doesn't want to be.
No. You know, if I were in her shoes, I wouldn't want to be. I want to be who I am, not who other people want me to be. And you know, I also think about this when it comes to archetypes like Lilith. When I was going through formal training, I was cautioned about which archetypes to align myself with. Mm-hmm. And I think that most of these people who are not allowing Lilith to be who she is would be mighty damn surprised if she suddenly appeared to them. That they would shit their knickers. I think they would discover in a heartbeat that she's not who they want her to be.
I have a controversial question for both of you, actually, because I really can't answer this because
Okay.
the last time I checked, I had a penis.
Okay.
Which was this morning when I showered, by the way. Do you think that there is kind of with this need to sanitize these archetypal figures? It reminds me of, when a woman becomes of a certain age, she needs to put up her going out on Friday night clothes and be, go home and get prepared to be a grandma. Do you think that there's kind of the sexism? And my other question is do you think that women often populate? Do you think that women often foment this?
What do you think, Rhina?
Yeah. I think women are shitty to each other. Yeah, all day long. I think a woman should be able to wear whatever she likes, whenever she likes to, whatever her age. This whole idea, because it's only other women telling us what we're not supposed to wear over 35. Stop it. Come on. Women, we're our own worst enemy half the time. It's been a source of contention for me since childhood because my biggest detractors not only were people in my family, but of course women, So every bad habit I ever learned, I learned from someone who said they loved me. Don't even get me started. You don't want to.
Oh goodness! I'm not laughing at anything else you said. Just that last remark.
Everybody just needs to remember that I'm asking the questions. They're spinning the controversy.
Yes, indeed. Oh my God!
Listen,
I remember.
I still wear what I want. I'm sorry, Dorothy. Go ahead.
No. And I'm really glad you do. I still wear what I want to, although I have a personal thing. It's like, I'll wear what I want as long as it's flattering. Okay? Sometimes I see people, and I'm not just talking about women, sometimes I see people and I think, and I know this is really judgmental, but I think, oh my God, just because you can doesn't mean you should have done that. It's like, oh, for heaven's sake, guy, you have a bare belly. Do you not think you could have worn a shirt that would go over it, so that I didn't have to see a foot of it sticking out? I didn't see that foot of bare skin sticking out. Okay, but I remember when women over a certain age weren't supposed to have long hair. Now,
really?
Oh yes, that was just tacky. That was absolutely tacky. All women over a certain age were supposed to have short hair. Now, I have short hair because I have too much hair. And when I was on the road, I had to actually pack 2 sets of electric rollers and a curling iron so that I could be presentable for an appearance. And it got to be too much to be packing in a damn suitcase.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like, And then, of course, my ex-husband thought all women should have long hair. And so when I got rid of him, that was my act of defiance. I went to my hairdresser and I said, chop this shit off. And so he chopped off 15 inches on one side, one swipe, and he said, are you okay with this? And I said, it's a little late to ask me now. You can't glue it back on. Get busy. But, because, now I can shampoo my hair and run a comb through it, and it falls perfectly in place, and I don't have to do anything else. So, so it's because it's easy, and I don't want to fool with my hair. But yeah, I remember that there were all kinds of stigmas attached to women over a certain age. You know, what they could do, what they couldn't do. It was kind of like, oh my goodness, you should never wear white after Labor Day. So, you know, and it's like, what the hell? Yeah, we can wear white after Labor Day if we want to.
Just be prepared to clean the mud stains off of it.
Well, see, this is why I don't wear white.
Right.
Because I'm messy.
I think that the brilliance in that idea has nothing to do with the white color. It has to do with the efficiency of having to clean the damn stuff all the time, because in the fall it's going to start raining and getting close to snow. And who wants to clean all that off of white?
Well, I guess so. But you see, there are other people who are clumsy like I am. My sister wears white pants all during the summer. I can't wear white pants because, sure enough, I'm going to eat something that had mustard or barbecue sauce on it, and I'm going to get it on my clothes.
And Dorothy, across the street, is gathering up together to say, we're going to go over there and attack Dorothy Morrison because she's wearing those white pants.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Mine waits in the doorway. It doesn't even sit across the street. Mine is already sitting there saying, bitch, open the door in that white shirt. Go ahead, try me.
Yeah. Oh, God. So yeah, I think sometimes we are our own worst enemies.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
which is what Halsey talks about.
Yeah, exactly. I wonder how many people, or if anybody else is ever going to discuss this video like we did.
Maybe. I don't know.
If it's ever going to raise any questions.
I didn't even know the video existed. Maybe. Well, hopefully. I hope people
I don't know in the metaphysical
it.
community, because if you're not gathered together in a hookah salon with sage blowing everywhere, they're probably not going to be interested, and Halsey is probably too popular. In 30 years they'll discuss it. When she's probably not popular anymore, and she's now writing about or being told that she can't wear anything sexy and has become Madonna. But I just find it fascinating to put together the ideas and to question, because I think that that's what needs to be questioned. Why are the responses the way that they are? Why is this goddess being activated? Why, is she actually getting us to question our belief about things, our, what's going on in our minds? Is she telling us, take responsibility for your own bullshit?
I think that is a lot of it. Take responsibility. The world is in chaos. You did this. So take responsibility and fix it. Just go on, either fix it or don't, but, just own it. A lot of times if you own something, it's much easier to fix.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I totally agree.
Sometimes it is.
I have found that with my own life. If I screw up, and I immediately go, oh, shit, I screwed up, I'm so sorry. And then take steps to fix it so that, everybody can move forward. Life is much fucking easier. And, I think that we have screwed up as a human race so much that most of us need to own this shit. And then figure out which the best way is to rectify it.
Right. I agree with you.
I agree with that.
So sorry we shook you so badly right now for the last hour.
Did you?
And I'm talking to you about dark goddesses and all this other stuff.
Yeah, and, so you're never going to have us on again because we already cooked this up and you didn't know about it.
Oh, shit. Yeah, listen. If you think that I had the both of you on without thinking something was cooking, you got to be joking. I've been doing this for going on 12 years. I don't think so. As a matter of fact, I think we should do this roundtable situation more often because, quite frankly, I think there's a whole bunch of other shit we could be questioning in addition to this.
What did I tell you, Storm?
Yeah.
I predicted you would say that.
See how well she knows me? This is how well she knows me. She knows I never run from a fucking fight, ever. So
No.
yeah, not only does the controversy not scare me, my whole thing is bring it back, bring more.
Yeah, I told Storm the other day. I said, "Oh, Ronnie's going to eat this up."
Hello, she knows me. Don't think she doesn't.
But I seriously, if anybody can find me the sanitized references that actually have source material and stories I can read, please send it to me. I desperately want to read it.
Cool.
Yes.
And if anyone reaches out, I will definitely. If anybody reaches out to the show, I will definitely pass that information along.
I have a feeling
happily.
I'm going to be dead before I get that information right now. I just have a feeling.
I don't know. You know, give folks a chance. Give people a chance to come up with some stuff. Let's see what happens. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying let's give it a chance and see. That's all.
By the way, what was that guy's book? Do you know what it's called?
What
that
the
guy
Glam
you
Witch?
mentioned right now. Yeah.
The Glam Witch. I will go ahead and get with you because we're about out of time. I will get with you after the broadcast, and I'll shoot
if
you
you
a
can just send that
picture
to me.
of the cover.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, good. Because I would like to see what he has to say.
Absolutely. So, guys, that has been a great hour. We are just about out of time. Storm, is there a way for folks to catch up with you if they want to get in touch or have questions or need
StormSestavani.com. StormSestavani.com. You can follow me. I'm Storm Sestavani on all the socials. My page on Facebook is Astro Gossip. Or you can search Storm's Astrology and you'll find me. But that's about it, basically.
Wonderful. Dorothy?
People can
follow you.
Okay, they can follow me on social media. Okay, just search Dorothy Morrison, and they can find I have two websites, DorothyMorrison.com and WickedWitchStudios.com.
I cannot thank both of you enough for this wonderful, fun, and very interesting and thought-provoking hour. This has been great. I really hope the both of you will come back on together.
I'm going to speak for both of us. We will.
Yay! That's awesome. We're gonna rebook it right after the show. So hopefully you guys who are listening enjoyed it. Thank you again, both of you. I love you both so much, and I have really enjoyed this hour. And folks out there listening can look forward to more of these.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes.
And we look forward to visiting with you again.
Yes.
Oh, fantastic. All right. Talk to you both soon.
Okay. Have a great one. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, guys, that's it for today. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I will be back with you next week. So get outside and enjoy the weather if you can, and send some love to New York, and for all the people who are suffering from the smoke inhalation from the wildfires in Canada, we hope this all stops very soon, and just take care of yourselves, take care of each other. Have a great weekend, everybody.